Hello fellow canners, and welcome back to Grab Your Jars. Today I'm going to be making some strawberry jam. If you follow my page and have watched my how to make raspberry jam or how to make blackberry jam, strawberry jam is almost exactly the same except we're using strawberries. If you haven't watched those, then welcome. You will need to go back and watch making jam, supplies and prep to know what supplies you're going to need and what you're going to have to do to prep beforehand. Otherwise it can tend to get pretty hectic here. So, tips. Tip number 1, put a towel down on your workspace. I don't know about you, but I am really messy when I'm making jam. I get berries on it, I get juice on it, I get honey on it, I make a mess, and I also get it all over myself. Tip number 2, wear an apron. Keep the mess off of you and on the apron and on your towel. Right now I have started with 2 flats, so I've got a total of about 9 pints of whole strawberries here, and these 2 flats ended up weighing about 3 3/4 pounds, so we'll see how much. When I'm doing strawberry jam, I prefer using my food processor, and this one's old as the hills, probably came from the 70s. I got it at an estate sale and it rocks. You can use a potato masher, but since strawberries are a little bit more firm than blackberries and raspberries, it's going to take a while and some work. So again, I'm going to use my food processor for my strawberries. And I'm not going to process them. Oops, I guess I need to move that down. I'm not going to process them for very long because I do like chunks in my berries. In my berry jam, I should say. Oh, I think one got away there. All right. Just barely. I don't want to over grind them, so I'm keeping a close eye on them. A little bit more. Tip number 3, I already have my jars in my pot and they've been boiling for at least 15 minutes. Once I hit that 15-minute mark, I turn the pot down, and I'm keeping the jars hot, but they are sterilized and they're ready to go. Initial 2 flats only yielded about 6.5 cups of crushed strawberries, so I went ahead and doubled my recipe and I used 4 of those flats, so I ended up with about 7-8 pounds of berries, and I'm going to measure out now and see how many cups I have. All right, I have about 13 cups, a little over 13, maybe 13.5 cups of crushed berries here, so I'm going to base the rest of my ingredients on that. Know how much crushed strawberries I have in this bowl. I'm going to go ahead and put my calcium water, and if you watched the video making jam, supplies and prep, you'll know that I really like Pomona's universal pectin. It uses calcium powder to activate the setting process. It's a chemical reaction process, and I can use far less sugar in that recipe, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. I made blackberry jam yesterday, and so I already mixed up some calcium water, but if you haven't done it before, it's a 1/2 cup of water and a 1/2 teaspoon of calcium powder. I mix it in a jar, I shake it up, and it's ready to roll. Now I had this left over from yesterday, so I just refrigerated it. Today, a normal recipe calls for 2 teaspoons, and by normal recipe, I mean 4 cups of crushed berries. So since I have tripled my recipe, a little over triple, I'm going to use 6 teaspoons instead of 2. And since I have a teeny bit more than 12 cups, I'm going to just put in a little bit extra. And then I'm going to mix it in really well. Here I mix it. I think we're ready to get on the stove. is almost to a full boil. It's not quite there yet. But I wanted to point out that my jars are, I've turned the pot back up so that it's getting back up to a boil where my jars are. I'm not going to take them out until I'm ready to put my fruit in them. So my fruit will come to a boil, I'll put in my sweetener, I'll taste it, I'll add more sweetener if it needs to, and at that point I will take my jars out. Because this pot only has clean, sterile water in it, I'm going to use that exact same pot to boil in bath water my jars. So it's kind of a double duty pot. My fruit is now at a pretty good boil, and so I'm going to go ahead and add my sweetener. Come over to this side for you. I've just filled all my jars up to within about 1/4 inch of the top, except for one little jar that I got a little full here, so I'm just going to take a little bit out. If you have it too full, it won't seal. And now I'm going to get a clean washcloth and get all the rims clean. I've got a clean cloth. I'm going to just wash my rims really well. If you don't get your rims nice and clean, you won't get a good seal when you process these. I have all my rims clean, so I'm going to go ahead and put my lids on. They're still nice and hot. Got to show you this cool little gadget. Is a magnetic lid lifter, so I don't have to put my hands or my fingers in that hot water. Just lifts them right out. It's like magic. After I get all my lids on, you're gonna put your screw bands on firmly tight, and they'll be ready to go into the pot. Jars are ready to go in my pot. I'm going to double fist it. My jars are all in. They're covered by at least 1 inch of water, and I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on, get this back to a good rolling boil, and then start timing for 10 minutes. This is a pressure canner, but in this case I'm using it as a boiling bath water. I am putting my lid on, but I am not locking it down like I normally would to pressure can. I'm just simply putting the lid on, letting it sit here like a big pot. On off. I've turned my heat off. I'm gonna take my jars out and let them cool. Always open these lids away from you in case they drip or have steam. And strawberry jam. Jars are out. I've got them sitting out to cool. If you listen, you can hear them sealing. As always, when these are completely cool, I will take them and wash the outside of the jars, take the screw bands off, and then I'm going to write on the top the date and what's inside, just in case there's any question a year down the road. I think that's it for our strawberry jam. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll get back with you. And if you like my video, hit like and subscribe below. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.